Welcome back to the show, Cali X Boxing. You are live on the channel. Saludos to you, Jesus M. It is Thursday, and it's a special Thursday edition because we're pre-gaming because we got fights tonight. We got Shakur in action. We got Young Core in action. We've got Vaquero in action. We got our guy Navarrete. Feliz Navarrete to everyone. Feliz Navarrete. We got Navarrete in action tonight in a fight against Conceicao. We've got meaningful fights on a Thursday, and you're going to have people out there saying, Thursday? Who fights on a Thursday? Oh my God, OMG, a Thursday? He's fighting on a Thursday? He can't be big if he's fighting on a Thursday. Do you know what day of the week? Somebody take a stab at it in the chat. Do you know what day of the week Hagler versus Hearns was? Anybody know? Anybody know? In a way, it can't be a big deal. He fights on a Tuesday. He fights on a Tuesday a.m. How can he be a big deal if he fights on a Tuesday? What day of the week did Hagler versus Hearns happen? Somebody take a stab at it in the chat. Saludos to Jesus M. Calix, who you match up? Steve Claggett up next. I'm saying Lindolfo Delgado. That's a good fight. The thing with Claggett is you just keep him busy because he's one of those guys. He's an entertainment value fighter. He's a human highlight film fighter. We've been looking for those Arturo Gattis, right? So the way you build them is you just put guys in entertaining matchups and you do it as much as possible. And, oh, by the way, I'll be speaking about that in a little while because I got a clip that I want to play from the 3 knockdown rule that I agree with and I've been saying on this channel for, a decade off and on. What's good to Shoeshine Boxing? My guy Shoeshine Boxing caught up this morning on y'all's football show. So shout out my guy Shoeshine. I'm more of a college football guy, but I keep up with y'all's NFL stuff too. Always listen to you. Appreciate you. Appreciate you coming through. Diego Pacheco Saturday too. Yes, and I'm going to drop some videos about him tomorrow or either Saturday morning, one of the two, because he's a guy to look out for. He's an entertaining fighter to look out for, talented on the come up. Cashflow Diaz as well. I saw some people sending me some stuff earlier on the DM as far as betting that fight to go the distance. That's another fight to look out for. Cashflow Diaz on that card. Navarrete. My guy Navarrete. Shakur will look spectacular tonight. I think so too. It's F1 week, kind of a big deal here in Vegas, though Bob screwed up hosting it on the Strip. Yeah, the traffic is ridiculous. That much I know. That much I know from being out there. The traffic is absolutely ridiculous. Latin Grammys on tonight. Good NFL game hurt ESPN fight. Jesus is going to be watching the Latin Grammys. He's going to be watching, what's her face? I'm a genie in a bottle. Christina Aguilera. Jesus is going to be watching Christina Aguilera in the Latin Grammys and J-Lo. By the way, I saw J-Lo in person in Vegas last month. In person. Like right by her. In person. So eat your heart out, Jesus. You're going to be watching her on TV. I saw her in person. What time the fight start? I think there's 7 p.m. Central. And yeah, he's up there. He's up there in age. What's up, my guy, wheelchair man John? They comping tickets, but people turning them down over Strip access tonight. That's tough to hear. That's tough to hear. I think that whole F1 thing backfired on a lot of people. A lot of people. The Latin grannies. Good Lord. So take a stab at it. Somebody in the chat. What day of the week did Hagler versus Hearns occur on? What day of the week? What day of the week was it, fellas? What day of the week? Just take a stab. There's only 7 possible answers, so just throw out some answers. I don't want to give you all the answers. She's beautiful in person, Jesus. She's beautiful. Like a Mona Lisa picture. Just beautiful in person. I saw Jessica Alba in person too. Just beautiful in person. Beautiful. It was not a Tuesday. Good try. Close, but it was not a Tuesday. All right, I'm going to just give you all the answer because y'all are holding up the classroom by not giving me the answers. But Monday, Hagler versus Hearns occurred on a Monday. And every generation has had big fights that have occurred on a weekday. And as part of the program with new boxing fans, as new boxing fans feel like everything should be on a Saturday night, nothing should be on an app. They're programmed to think a certain way, and boxing fans, what I've learned and what I've tried to say on this channel is boxing involves nuance. It's a nuanced sport. It's very complex, unfortunately, and it's complex in a non-complex era. That's a tough sell that it has. But boxing fans aren't capable of nuance. That's the tough thing. They're just not capable of nuance. And once you program them a certain way, and boxing's power brokers know this, and they know that they can program the new age boxing fans. And once they do, it's hard to get those dudes back. It's hard to get them out of that zombie mode. It's hard to present them the red pill and get them to take that red pill. They want blue pill, blue pill, blue pill. It's just a tough sell, man. It's a tough sell. So Thursday night, I like this little experiment of doing fights on weeknights. I think it's a good deal. Every other sport does it, by the way. Monday night football, Thursday night football. You've got college football on Tuesday nights. Every other sport does this. So do it. Do it. Too much. Why are you hating on J-Lo, Jesus? He's hating on J-Lo. I think because he hasn't seen her in person. He's hating on her. I think he's jealous. I hope we see some upsets tonight, or at least competitive fights. We'll see. We'll see. So let me pull this up. Once again, I got a lot of stuff to talk about today. Shakur, Navarrete, obviously what's going on tonight. And what I feel like these fighters should be doing. I'll back it up with some clips. Also, Mauricio Suliman is out there. Suliman, the WBC president. Oh, woe is me. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Publications are not being fair to us. Oh my God. Oh my God. You know, it's hurting the integrity of the sport. It's hurting. If ever there was a dude hurting the integrity of his sport, the dude should just look in the mirror. Like go into a bathroom. In a bathroom, something exists called a mirror. And if Suliman wants to see someone hurting the integrity of the sport, he should look in that invention called the mirror, and he'll see corruption staring right back at him. So it's beautiful, man. Like, it's beautiful. I pulled out my small violin as I'm watching his little clip earlier about the integrity of the sport. And oh my God, oh no, they're hurting the integrity of the sport. And the WBC, I must defend the WBC. It's like, go to hell. Tyson Spink was on a Monday also. There you go. There you go. So let me pull up the betting odds again real quick. Let's see. Let me pull this. Let me see if I can get this. All right, let's do this. Let's do this. And I'm going to tell you what I'm playing tonight. Oh, backgrounds. Here it is. Okay. And this is Navarrete, my guy Navarrete. My guy Navarrete. And I got to make this smaller. There we go. Okay. Navarrete, Conceicao. Minus 1,300, so he's a 13-1 favorite against Conceicao. That's not the story to me. The story is if you're looking for a possible upset on the big ticket tonight in the co-mains, I think Conceicao would be it. Why? Why do we say that? Because of the style. Stylistically, Conceicao can be a root canal. Stylistically, Conceicao can be very negative. And if he makes this a very negative fight and Navarrete can't get out of that, if it becomes a Conceicao style fight, then it could be one of those nights for Navarrete where you're like, oh, man, here we go. And Navarrete is one of those guys where he has some performances like that where you're like, where did our sweet Navarrete go? Where did our sweet Feliz Navarrete go? Where did he go? He has performances like that, fellas. So this could be one of those. So if you want to throw a little money down on the plus 710 Conceicao, that's a possibility. The bigger story to me, though, is I feel confident Navarrete wins this fight. Third fight this year, I think he's going to keep momentum going. I think he's already had a down performance this year against Liam Wilson. I think he got it out of his system. So Conceicao, I think, is too negative in order to be successful against Navarrete throughout the whole fight. Look, it's not shocking if a fighter has success against Navarrete early in the fight. That's not the shocking part, right? There are fighters like that, right? Tank Davis. It's not shocking when you see a fighter have success against Tank Davis early in the fight. Canelo Alvarez, another economical fighter. It's not shocking to see Plant win 2 or 3 rounds in the first half of the fight. That's not shocking. What would be shocking if they're able to carry on that success, the opponent that is, throughout the whole fight. Why? Because Navarrete, I don't think he gets enough credit for this. Yes, he is a pressure fighter. Yes, he's a high output fighter. But it's not often you have a nuanced pressure fighter, a nuanced high output fighter, and Navarrete is that. He's hard to time. He throws different combinations from weird angles. He can throw them from weird angles because he has power behind shots that you should not have power behind. He's throwing uppercuts going backwards. They teach you not to do stuff like that in boxing gyms. You're supposed to throw the uppercut from a certain angle, leading down. He's throwing uppercuts, standing straight up, going backwards. It's a weird type of style that he fights with that you can't prepare for. Who the hell are you going to spar to prepare you for that? And even if you do, it doesn't prepare you for the bright lights and a guy as talented as Navarrete doing it right in front of you. So I don't think Conceicao can be that negative, that long. Eventually, Navarrete's pressure gets to him. Eventually, you can only hold and clinch so long, fellas, before you're warned. And I think this becomes that type of a fight in the middle rounds where Navarrete's pressure starts to get to Conceicao, get to him. Conceicao is eventually going to have to trade, and maybe it'll be that fight to where Conceicao surprises us and has success in the trades. Who would have thought Liam Wilson could hurt Navarrete? So Conceicao, although not a big puncher, could be capable of that, right? But Navarrete, I think, will style as this fight goes on. And I think tonight ends up being, instead of an upset night, I think it ends up being a showcase night. I think Navarrete and Shakur Stevenson show out tonight. So I lean towards Navarrete KO plus 102, but that's the tough part is which one of those do you pick? It's a treat. It's value when you see Navarrete, a Navarrete possibility, a Navarrete result end up in the positive territory. And keep that in mind when we look at Shakur Stevenson's betting odds in a minute. So I feel the need to jump on one of those, and I lean more towards Navarrete KO plus 102. When you see something go from 13-1 odds to a result going to positive territory, the odds makers are having trouble determining themselves whether this is a result, whether it's a decision fight or it's a late stoppage fight, and I lean towards late stoppage. So D-Style staying away from this fight, I don't blame him. I might throw a little bit of money down on Navarrete plus 102 KO. And then we look at Shakur Stevenson. Shakur Stevenson, 13-1 favorite once again. So the question becomes, does De Los Santos have a style that could give Shakur problems? I don't think so. I think if there is an upset tonight in this co-main, it would be Navarrete versus Conceicao just due to the stylistic nature of the fights. De Los Santos, I'm just not as high on him as other people. 24 years old, so it's still a wild card. He's in his athletic prime. Southpaw, who fights well against Southpaws. I get all that stuff, but Shakur is special to me. Pause. He's a special fighter, and I think he's going to cruise tonight. But this is what I look for and what I want to see from Shakur. And I'm about to show a clip in a minute of other stuff I want to see from Shakur going forward. But this is what I want to see starting tonight. I was highly critical of Shakur after the Nakathila fight. It's like, man, Shakur, you're starting to make people look bad because we're all out here saying how special you are, how great you are, what you can do, what you're capable of, that you're possibly a top 10 pound-for-pound talent right now. Right now. He goes out against Nakathila, wins all 12 rounds, but you can't, and American fighters do this in particular. They feel like they can just win fights and move on. Win fights 2 times per year and move on, and it's more than that. And it's why we're seeing, okay, we have out of the 68 major belts, 15 title holders. Out of 15 championships out of 68. It's why we're starting to see stuff like this recycling process that we've had in the past. Who is the American star right now, and who is the next guy? Who's the guy? Canelo's our biggest draw in America, but he's not even American. He's Mexican. So who's going to be the American star? And this is where you want to see a Shakur Stevenson step up. We can argue Ryan Garcia is a star, but how long does that last? We need substance behind the style. You could argue that with Tank, but what does he do without Ryan Garcia on the ticket? But Shakur is one of those guys. He's got something going, 11,000 in Newark, 11,000 in Newark. He's drawing people. They're putting him on a Thursday night in Vegas. We'll see how it goes. But what we want to see is, number one, more activity. I'll talk about that in a minute. But also, when you have a spotlight on you, you need to perform. You need to entertain. It's not just about winning. It's about how you win. It's about performances. And as Loeffler has said often about how he built Golovkin, how he's trying to build Callum Walsh, activity knockouts, activity knockouts, activity knockouts, 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 knockouts. They matter. We've gone to a place in American boxing where American boxing fans seem to brag about how fighters easily style and cruise, right? And take low risk, high reward fights and then cruise in those fights and then take it easy and go into cruise control and win 120 to 108. But in reality, what draws more of us into the sport, what clones more boxing fans is knockouts. It's been that way since the beginning of time. Knockouts. Knockouts, knockouts. Unless you're one of those special fighters who perfectly polarizes the market like a Floyd Mayweather late in his career and does things like that, you can't get away with that. Mayweather's one of one. I got news for you. One of one. Nobody else is going to come in the door and emulate that. You have to knock people out. The traditional way of building stars, activity, knockouts, activity, knockouts. So this is what I want to see from Shakur. I'm taking, once again, when I see a Shakur result at the plus territory, I'm just jumping on it. I see it as value. I don't know. I'm not confident if he stops De Los Santos in this fight, but I got to jump on a plus 320. And I did. And I jumped on it pretty heavy, actually. But I think anytime you see Shakur in the plus territory as far as a result, you jump on it. But also, what I want to see as a boxing fan is I want to be able to invite people over to my house and feel confident that the guy is going to entertain. Not that he's going to win. I know Shakur is going to win. Shakur is going to win. Shakur is arguably one of the most beatable fighters in the sport. And how do I know that? I know how his peers react when his name is brought up. I'm like, no, I'll go elsewhere. I'll go elsewhere. 1 million, my highest payday by 8 times over. And by the way, Frank Martin sitting at home. No fight date. Frank Martin could have been headlining in Vegas tonight, making a cool $1 million, sitting at home. Sitting at home. Sad. Sad. Fighters not having confidence in themselves. But when it comes to Shakur entertainment value, I want to be able to say, there's this dude named Shakur Stevenson, man. This dude is super talented. Great defensive fighter. But guess what? He also sits on his punches. This dude looks to knock people out. He looks to stop people. That's what I want to be able to tell people when I invite him over the house. And I feel confident that when I invite him over the house on a Thursday night for a Shakur Stevenson fight, that he's going to entertain. It's guaranteed entertainment value. That's what I want to see. And that's what gets more people in. No hardcore boxing fan is going to go to a casual fan like your boy in the neighborhood and say, you want to see a dude 120 to 108, somebody to death? I got this dude, Shakur Stevenson. They're going to look at you like, what is it, 120 to 108? Yeah. It means he decisions people. He gets decisions. Well, I want to see decisions. He's going to give them a boxing clinic. I don't care about a boxing clinic. They want to see knockouts. It's in our nature. It's in our very nature, right? It's in our core. It's in our roots. We want to see entertainment. If there are 3 different street corners, we see a football game, a basketball game, and we see a fight. We're gravitated naturally towards the fight. And the business side of it has made boxing so unfollowable because it's so bad, right? The business side. But also it's our new mentality as American boxing fans to say, I'm fine with decisions. It's smart. It's smart to avoid that guy to fight that guy for more money. That's smart. That's a smart play. It's smart to go into cruise control and clinch a little bit and then play it safe late in the fight. I don't care about smart. I'm a boxing fan. I want to be entertained. So Shakur, to me, is capable to move up in weight class, fill out 135 nicely, have more power behind the shots, and sit on shots and make guys look, just embarrass guys. And when you start to embarrass them, they take chances. They get embarrassed naturally. They take chances. They do things that they wouldn't normally do. And that's when you need to sit on your shots. It's what he should have done against Nakathila. Sit on those shots, get the guy out of there. And that's what I want to see going forward, starting tonight. Let me get this back up. Let me get to some comments real quick before we move on. Let's see. Let's see if Jesus is still hating on J-Lo. Integrity does not exist in boxing. That is right. Isley versus Vladimir upset. I also don't think we're going to see an upset in that fight either, but we'll see. We'll see. Diaz at 126 gave Navarrete the hell that he did. I think that fight's going decision, though. We'll fold in second half, maybe get finished at the end. I hope you're right. I hope you're right. Fury Usyk presser on. And I'm just not a presser guy. So I'm sure a lot of people are tuned into that presser. I'm just not a presser guy. It is what it is. Good afternoon, Calix. I know you love the Danny Garcia's bars. I did not. Puerto Rican boxing is taking L's. What did he say? Champagne for the pain. Champagne for the pain. Making the coochie rain, making the vagina rain. That's what Danny Garcia is out there saying. And Oscar wants to know where the PBC fighters have gone. They're in the studio. They're in the studio rapping. They're in the studio dropping 16s. So Danny Garcia is still out there dropping bars. Shout out my guy Lukey, always covering the boxing. Lukey is a substance guy. You want substance? Go follow Lukey. ProBox TV. ProBox is dropping. I see Lukey talking about all the fights. ProBox, UFC Fight Pass. Just fight guys at our core. So 3 upsets on the undercard. Love Randall. I don't know if we're going to see the upset stuff happening tonight. I think we're going to see more dudes' favorites showing out. And another thing I'm interested in is this Vargas kid. To me, he's got star written all over him. I want to see more of Vargas. Keep that guy out. Have that guy fight 10 times per year and just mow people down. That kid's a star. And Abdullah as well. He's a star. So look out for him tonight as well. So this natural recycling process that we talk about as far as talent, that's happening. You look at Top Rank's roster, that's happening. They have young talent on that roster. That's going to happen. That stuff happens. We're going to always have talent come through the door, and Top Rank is the best at spotting it early. They've got the young talent on that roster. The question is, will they keep these guys active enough in order to build them into stars? And we're going to start to talk about that in a minute before we get to more of this. Which fights interest you more, Shakur or Navarrete? I got zero interest in Shakur. Both. I want to see how Shakur performs, but the Navarrete fight as well, because my fear is Conceicao stinks it out, but I'm also intrigued at how Navarrete deals with a third different style the same year. It's a different style. He's fought different styles all fights. Even with Shakur's talent, he lacks the charisma. Floyd has to be crossover sports talent. A lot of them do. That's right. Martin and his team played themselves unless he gets a payday versus Tank ASAP. And I don't think he will. Gladiator matchups. Robson going to make it look easy against Navarrete. Whoa. The GOAT Mario P coming off the top rope. Conceicao is going to make it look easy. Whoa. We'll see. Emiliano, the future on the main card for a reason, and he is, man. That kid's the future. I believe my Amazon driver yesterday was a PBC boxer. Good Lord. All right, let me get to a clip. Here we're talking about Shakur. Let me share something real quick. Let me get to present. Share screen. Let me see. This is my guy, Steve Kim. 3 knockdown rule with Mario Lopez. I want you to listen to what he's saying here. And sounds a lot like myself. And it's because we share values, right, as boxing fans. There's a foundation. I think Steve Kim is one of those guys that approaches it as a boxing fan. And that's why we have shared values. I think there's a traditional way to build fighters. And as boxing fans, as true hardcore boxing fans who don't have biases towards certain fighters, there are foundational values that we both share, that we all share. A lot of you in the chat as well. So let me get to this clip and we'll talk about it.
My question with Stevenson is this. He's now 26 years old. He's 20-0. And this is something that me and you have talked about, Mario, at length throughout the last year or two. Can a guy like him ever reach stardom if he's only going to be fighting twice a year with less than 25 fights in his mid-20s? Because if you look at De La Hoya, you look at Mayweather, you look at Cotto, you look at Pacquiao, those guys at this stage or this age, they all were fighting.
And let's see that hopefully buffer out
3 times a year. They had more exposure.
The short answer No. And it's unfortunate because
More buffering. Not sure where this is buffering. Let's give it another
he's
5
got
seconds. There
all
it
the
is.
qualities. He's a very talented fighter. He's a
So let's cut it there because it looks like. So Mario goes on to parrot it and says, if you keep him busy, you just give people more access to him. And how many times have we said this? It's not enough to fight twice a year in decision, guys. It's just not. And this is what foundationally is broken with the American boxing system is you have fans adopting this new value system as American boxing fans that it's okay to fight once or twice a year, play it safe, decision, guys, and then move on and keep that. Oh, and what we're trying to tell you, and what we've been trying to tell you for a while is that is not enough. It's not enough. That's enough to get you the high minimums, right? And to get you on network TV or on an app that people can people will watch. It's good enough to keep an O. It's good enough to get you high in divisional rankings. But outside, that's what I say about Boots Ennis. And I was telling a guy the other day, outside of Philadelphia and outside of hardcore boxing fans, there aren't a dozen people in America who know Boots Ennis. Boots Ennis can walk into a Waffle House. Boots Ennis can walk into a Macy's if they still exist. He can walk into a Dillard's. He can walk into a Best Buy outside of Philadelphia, and people are not going to know who he is. They're not going to know. They don't know. As sad as it is, Virgil Ortiz, they do not know him outside of Dallas. They don't know him outside of hardcore boxing fans. These guys can walk into, name a place, a Denny's, and they're going to be able to sit down, have a conversation. And these are some of the best athletes in the world, fellas. Some of the best athletes in the world, and they can sit at any place in America outside of their hometowns, and nobody's going to bother them because nobody knows them. Do you realize Boots Ennis, and I have people coming at me sideways on Twitter about this dude. He fought 4 minutes last year. 4.5 minutes, Boots Ennis, of action in 2022, and it was buried on an undercard. This dude had 2 fights this year. One of them was against a guy named Karen, and he decisioned him buried on an undercard that 100,000 people watched, maybe. What is this? Loyalty to networks. They're signing their freedom away because they want front-end money. They want safe money on the front end, and they're wondering 5-6 years down the line when they're not a star, nobody knows who they are. And then they're demanding certain fights that they likely won't get because they're avoided. But guess what? You could have built stardom on your own. It's the Golovkin route. Fight quarterly. Destroy guys until somebody has to knock on your door. It's inevitable. Corner the weight class. Corner the whole weight class until it's undeniable that everybody is ducking you. But for the love of God, dude, you got to fight more than twice a year. It's not like these fights have been difficult for you. And why is this too much to ask? Why are we called haters when we say this stuff? Fight 3 times per year. But Calix, you don't understand. This is a new system. It's not realistic. They got high minimums. So we'll get rid of the high minimum then. And this is what Steve is saying. Like if I was Shakur and his team, and that involves Jay Prince, right? So good luck with this. Good luck with Jay Prince and Shakur Stevenson walking into the Top Rank office. Can I talk to Bob? Can I talk to Todd? They talk to Bob and they say, you know that high minimum y'all were giving us? Just waive it. Just waive it. Let's stay active. We want to become stars. We want to become household names. We're marketable. We want to sit on punches, become more entertaining. We want to fight the best opposition available to us 3 times per year at least. If they do that right now, guess what Bob's going to tell them? You're too expensive for me to fight you 3 times per year. So we got to waive that high minimum. Guess what they're going to say? No. They're going to say no. But this is what you need to do. And when you say this stuff, you're called hater, you're called anti-fighter. It is not any of that. It's simply, we're giving you the model. As a boxing fan, I feel like I'm in a good position. I feel like you guys in the chat are in a good position to say, hey, you want to create more of this? This is how you do it. I'm told all the time as a boxing fan, we're put in our place all the time, right? We'll talk about that in a minute when I show this Mauricio Suliman clip. But we're always put in our place. We don't understand because we're just boxing fans. We don't understand. We don't understand what it's like to be a fighter. We don't understand what it's like to be a power broker, an advisor, a manager, a promoter, a network exec. You don't understand what's going on in the boardroom. So let me flip it on them. You don't understand what it's like to be a boxing fan. Who is in a better position to say how you create more boxing fans than boxing fans? So here's what you do. Shakur, knock on the door and say, hey, I want to fight 3 times next year. I want to knock guys out, fight 3 times this year. I might have to sacrifice some money on the front end, but this is how I get it on the back end. Oh, and by the way, I can create more passive income in the meantime. Because the more exposure I have, the more marketability I have. The more Bud Light deals I can get, the more Nike deals I can get, the more Hugo Boss deals I can get. Do you understand that Andre Berto is about to fight Robert Guerrero? Do you know why that is? Because they don't have money. Do you understand why all these exhibition matches are happening? Dudes don't have money. Why is it that we're out here caping for David Benavidez? And fair enough, man. I want to see the Canelo fight, but he shouldn't need it to be a star. When his promoter is out there saying, just act, and this is how open they are about it now. I marinated a fight for 5 years. You marinated a fight for 5 years and it didn't do 100,000 pay-per-view buys? And this guy's fans are wondering why he's not a star. These guys' fans, no wonder they're begging Canelo to fight him. No wonder. No wonder they need Canelo so bad. No wonder the whole marketing plan behind David Benavidez is Mexican Monster, attach him to Canelo because they have nothing else, because they haven't been busy. And finally they get to it, but it takes a lot of time, dude. It takes a lot of time to wash it out of people's minds what the first 8.5 years look like. You can't just do it in 2 fights. You can't just say, I fought Caleb Plant. I fought Boo Boo Andre. We're good now, right? We're good. No, we're not good. That's a good year. I like it, but I need to see it again in 2024. And by the way, do Canelo versus Benavidez. I have no tolerance for marination anymore. Get to the fight. I don't want to see Canelo versus Bud. Don't even talk about it. Super middleweight versus welterweight. I don't need to see it. I don't need to see Canelo versus anybody else. I don't need to see Benavidez versus. Do the fight. I'm there. But what I'm telling you is don't be surprised, much like with Bivol, if Benavidez beats Canelo, which could happen, that Benavidez comes out of that and he's still not a star. Don't be surprised. And dudes need to stop worrying about what's going on over there, over there, over there, over there. This is human nature, right? You want to be successful, you got to lock in and say, I need to do this, 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 this. This is what I can take care of. I can't control the other stuff. This is what I can take care of. This is what I can control. I'm going to fight 3 times per year. I'm going to fight 4 times per year. I'm going to fight the best opposition available to me until guys have to see me. That's it. That's the way. And it's a narrow path, unfortunately, but it's the way. It's the way. Anything worth getting is tough to get. And these dudes, these stupid American boxing fans, let's call them what they are, unintelligent American boxing fans, are brainwashing these fighters, along with the power brokers, to think that they can take the easy route to stardom, and they can't. They can't do it. You can't do it. And they'll throw out exceptions to the rule like a Ryan Garcia. And like I said, man, I got news for you, Ryan Garcia, Tank Davis. Let's see if it's sustainable. Let's see it. All these fake Jake Paul, Tommy Fury numbers you got going out there. I got news for you. If Jake Paul was really doing these numbers they're talking about, was really a star, he wouldn't be fighting the guy he's fighting next. So it is what it is, man. Y'all got to get to it. Stop making excuses for these dudes. And it starts tonight. Shakur's got to mow De Los Santos down. You got the floor, man. You got the floor. It's not just about winning. It's not just about keeping that O, because he's going to sit there backstage. He's going to sit next to Andre Ward and Bud Crawford, and we're all going to say the same thing. Damn, look at the talent in that room. Not a loss in that room. Look at the talent in there. But guess what we're all also going to say? Man, what could have been? What could have been? These are the tough conversations that we have to have. And I'm going to disrupt some of my alliances by saying some of this stuff. But a Bud Crawford, outside of Canelo Alvarez, think about this. Who else does Bud Crawford do a 500,000 pay-per-view buys against right now? Think about it. Think about it. So all these new Bud Crawford super fans that are out there overinflating his market value, I'm just telling you. So when I see a picture in there, I see Bud Crawford, I see Andre Ward, I see Shakur Stevenson. I say, look, Shakur obviously is surrounded by talent, and he's obviously talented. The way, if you have those talented of fighters sitting with you on a couch at your fight, they come out and fly for your fight, you're talented. You're talented. Real recognize real, right? But at the same time, you got to learn from your peers' mistakes. Sometimes you got to waive the high minimums. Sometimes you have to sacrifice short term for long terms. It's not the best idea to sue your dead promoter, right? It's not the best time after you win the Super Six to say, you know what, I'm going to sue my dead promoter that leveraged the Super Six towards me to where I didn't even have to leave my state until the championship fight. And maybe you had some beefs, but maybe there was a smarter way to go about that. Maybe, just maybe, I should have had a higher than 50% KO percentage if I wanted more eyeballs on me. So you got to learn from those mistakes. I'm going to sit on more punches. I'm going to be more active. I'm going to be a little more intelligent as far as business-wise, and intelligence, unfortunately, in the boxing world seems to be, I'm going to get my guaranteed money on the front end, high minimums, and I'm going to sacrifice long-term. And what I'm saying is the smart dudes, the intelligent dudes are going to see, I'm going to sacrifice short-term. I'm going to have confidence in myself, because Shakur should have confidence in himself. If anybody should, it's him. He's that talented. Sacrifice short-term for the long-term gain. I'm going to be marketable. I'm going to be a household name. We'll see. He's still got time, man. He's young, mid-20s. Did y'all see this right here? Our guy Suliman is out there right now. He's running wild. We're going to talk about the WBC's beef with BoxRec and Ring Magazine, and we're going to have fun with it, because I'm going to show you a clip in a minute of Suliman just, oh my God, the integrity of the sport, What are we going to do? These guys are destroying the integrity of the sport. In an unexpected development, the WBC announced its annual convention. And if you don't know what an annual convention is, it's just a thing where a bunch of people in the boxing world come together and circle jerk and talk about how great they all are. And then, never mind. But it was in Uzbekistan. It will suspend cooperation with BoxRec.com, the official boxing record keeper with which the WBC has supported for more than a decade. And fair enough. They're both businesses, right? So non-profit, but they're both businesses. WBC wants to do that. That's fine. But I love the petty here. Listen to this. At issue is BoxRec's handling of the Bridgerweight division, 200 to 224 pounds, which simply hasn't been acknowledged by BoxRec since it was created by the WBC 3 years ago. I love this. Current WBC world champion Lucas Rozanski, because everybody knows who Lucas Rozanski is, right? 15-0, 14 KOs, does not have any title. His fights are written up as heavyweight without a title. I love it. And he does not appear in any rankings. God, I love it. Hand clap for BoxRec for that. Because if I ran BoxRec, I would do the same exact thing. Like Bridgerweight, what is this? Bridgerweight, an 18th weight class. Dude, you have 17 weight classes to choose from. And instead, you came up with an 18 weight class, 200 to 224 pounds. And this is where D-Style and I would agree. He thinks we need more weight classes and a higher. For the love of God, the last thing we need is more weight classes. For the love of God. That's one conversation we do not need to be having. So the WBC feels like they can create a new weight class and everybody needs to recognize it. And I'm glad BoxRec did this and said, go to hell. Your guy that you think has a legitimate title does not, according to us, because that weight class does not exist to us. And I'm going to get more like the audacity of Suliman, the audacity of him. Some of the stuff he's saying the past couple of days, the audacity. More on that in a minute. The WBC made an official request for BoxRec to support the Bridgerweight classification. And the decision to suspend cooperation for the time being until the update is implemented was immediately and firmly supported by the WBC Board of Governors. That's the best part. That's the best part. The Board of Governors. Let me help y'all out. The Board of Governors, let me take this down so I can read the rest of it real quick. The Board of Governors, on Tuesday during the presentation of the BoxRec reps, the Board of Governors exists in name only. The Board of Governors is Suliman says something, it goes, and then he has these guys in a room, Board of Governors, right, who he can put his name behind, attach their names to certain designations, rulings. And we've talked earlier in the week or last week about the difference between, and pay attention to this as we go into this clip, the difference between rulings from Ring Magazine and say a WBC. WBC, what Suliman says goes. With Ring Magazine, there's a transparent process with the ratings panel. We may not agree with it. I don't agree with what happened between Bam and Sonny, but guess what? They had their process. 5-4 split, diversity of opinion. It's all there. That does not exist with the WBC. And keep that in mind when we have this. But I love what BoxRec did right here. Love what they did. And I don't agree with BoxRec rankings either, by the way. I think they're too rigid. It's an algorithm. I understand there's an algorithm, but it's way off. It's messed up. But I love what they did. No, Bridgerweight doesn't exist. This weight class that you named after a kid that got eaten by a dog does not exist. It's Alinsky, right? It's never let a good crisis go to waste. So Suliman sees a kid eaten by a dog and he says, now, pounce now, do it now. And what's he do? He says, we're going to name a weight class after this kid. Because those people like Calix Boxing who go against my weight class, you know what I'm going to say? I'm going to say, he hates kids that get eaten by dogs. How dare he? How dare he go against the Bridgerweight division when it's named after a kid named Bridger Walker who was eaten by a pit bull? He jumped in front of his baby sister who was getting mauled by a pit bull, and then he got mauled, and we named a weight class after him. We went as far as naming a weight class after him. How dare the audacity of Calix Boxing to call into question the integrity of that, the integrity of our motive. He must hate kids that get eaten by dogs. That's what he's going to say. But it is what it is. Let me take this down real quick, and then I'm going to play this clip. Screen share, present. Let's get to this in a minute. Hopefully it does not. This is Suliman in all his glory. And by the way, if there is a poster boy for corruption, it's this guy. And I want you to listen to him. Just politicians, they're either so corrupt that they'll just lie to you straight face constantly, right? Constantly. Or they lie so much that they forget that they're lying. And he can't go outside of himself and listen to what he's saying. So I want you to listen to this. His little beef with Ring Magazine. And to set this up, I think this comes from Oscar De La Hoya tweeting out that the Ring Magazine rankings are the only rankings that matter. Something like that. I'm paraphrasing. And no corruption in the Ring Magazine rankings. And obviously Suliman takes exception to that. So let's listen to this.
Please, that the Ring Magazine is a magazine. I don't know why media and champions and promoters give any credit to a ring magazine belt, which only threatens the credibility of the sport. I am very upset because they just declared a few days ago that the rankings of the organizations are corrupt.
Oh, no.
And if you touch my WBC, I'm going to fight back.
Oh,
I
no.
don't care about the Ring magazine because they are a business. They make money.
Oh.
They are biased.
Oh.
And that is not boxing. Boxing is what you see here.
No, it's
the
not.
World of Boxing United
No,
to
it's
make
not.
boxing better and safer.
No.
A paper magazine awarding a belt has no meaning. Of course, fighters like it because it gives them positive news. But look at this decision, completely arbitrarily.
Oh.
I hope that this understand and stop media giving any value to a magazine belt.
So that's Suliman, WBC president. And why do I find this so funny? Let me get back to this. Pull comments up. Let me pull hold on one second. Let me pull. Why do I find this so hilarious? And why is this important? So he's taking exception to, I think, Oscar. Maybe there was an article written saying the rankings of the WBC are corrupt. And by the way, they are. Sanctioning body rankings are corrupt. I think we know that. I think we all know that here. You know what Suliman should do? Number one, go to hell. But he should focus, if he was really about this, if he really wanted to clean up the sport, he should start at home. Make your own bed. Clean up your own mess. Wash your own dishes. Do your own laundry. And then look in the mirror and say, maybe I'm corruption. Maybe I'm the guy. 900 days. It's been 900 days since my middleweight titleist has fought. 900 days. 900. And he's about to fight a 10-rounder against a guy who isn't a middleweight, and he's fighting him at 163-pound catchweight, and he's not defending my title. And on top of that, he goes on record doing interviews and saying, I don't care about the belt. It's just a trophy. I don't care. Take it. Suliman should focus on that. Suliman should focus on why in the hell you're going to rank Ngannou, a guy who is 0-1 in your heavyweight rankings? That sounds like corruption to me. That sounds like follow the money to me. Floyd Mayweather versus Conor McGregor, an official bout by the WBC. The WBC creates its own belt for that fight. Sounds like follow the money to me. So he's talking about the integrity of the sport. Him. When he's being critical of Ring Magazine right here, just pretend he's being critical of himself. Then it aligns, right? Then it makes more sense. Because it sounds like he's explaining the WBC. To me, if I didn't know any better, if I didn't know who he was going after, if I was just an alien that was just dropped here, and I only followed boxing, I would think that this dude is explaining himself. Dude, you have a middleweight titleist. You're a middleweight titleist who hasn't fought 900 days, and he's about to fight, and it's not even for the title. And you make enough time to criticize Ring Magazine and BoxRec, and I know what it is. He has thin skin. This is what politicians do, right? Anybody who comes after them, anyone who is the least bit critical of them, they start to put the spotlight on those people and have their little lapdogs and attack their little fans, their little fanboys, the little WBC fanboys, go after those people. I mean, I would love to ask the dude, how did Keith Thurman get up there in the rankings? Mario Barrios, how'd they get up there in the rankings? How? How'd this stuff happen? Your rankings make no sense. None. And you're going to be critical of Ring Magazine and their rankings and their belt? Your belt at middleweight has no value. How do I know that? The fighter who owns it said so. Your middleweight titleist said, take it. Don't want it. Have it. Take it. You've been simping for the dude for how long? And then he comes out there after a year of you simping for the dude, a year and a half, and he says, take it. I don't care about it anyway. I never cared about it. Take it. And Francis Ngannou is in the rankings at 0-1. And he has enough time, enough audacity to start criticizing other people. I talked about it, man. Like, I don't agree with Sonny versus Bam not being for the ring title, but at least they kept precedent in mind. 1 versus 4. I don't agree with Bam being number 4. That's my biggest criticism of it. But they took precedent into mind. They were split 5-4. It's a real panel, transparent process, names on the panel. They have to come out and explain what they did. And they keep precedent in mind that maybe 1 versus 4 for the lineal title or Ring Magazine title is not a good precedent to set. Meanwhile, this dude is talking about arbitrarily. He throws out the word arbitrarily. If anybody was doing anything arbitrarily, it would be the WBC. 900 days without fighting, mental health. Yeah, but these guys underneath here have mental health too. Whatever. Arbitrarily the middleweight titleist. Why? He hasn't fought. Arbitrarily, I say so. That's why. The integrity of the sport. Good Lord. If there was a dude who was corrupt, it's him. The integrity of the sport. Why? Why is Maul the titleist at 160? He hasn't fought. Arbitrarily, I say so. That's why. Get the hell out of here. I heard that when dudes do interviews with this dude, they have to give him the questions beforehand. Does that sound like a politician to you? Does that sound like a dude who is secure to you? Secure to just go in front of anybody and answer questions. Just answer them. Wheeling and dealing. You got a question? Yeah. You got a question? Yeah. No. It's give me your questions beforehand so I know how to answer them, and I know if you're friendly media that I can do interviews with. That's what that is. Arbitrarily. You've had, arbitrarily speaking, you've had an interim titleist at 160 for 13 months. That defies the word interim. 13 months. That dude's just been sitting there paying sanctioning fees, just sitting there waiting for this dude to do something. And you're like, nah, arbitrarily, I say you're the interim titleist. And if this dude really wants to clean up the sport, if he's really worried about the integrity of boxing, then there should be no interim titleist. There should be no champion of recess because that defeats the purpose of the whole sport, fellas. Any other sport, you get injured, you get mental health. Guess what? Go to the back of the line. You can't defend your championship, whether it be individual sports or team sports. If a tennis player gets hurt and he has to sit out a whole year, he drops the rankings, drops in the rankings, naturally. Tough break. You got injured. Tough break. Sorry, you don't hold belts and championships and trophies for fighters and say you don't have to defend them because your calf is hurt. You don't have to defend them because your little feelings are hurt and you have some mental health. No. Fighters up and down those rankings have mental health issues. They got all kind of problems. They got baby mama issues, all kind of stuff, child support, all kind of stuff. They got less money to deal with it. And you got this dude up here hoarding a belt. And you talk about integrity? You talk about arbitrarily doing stuff? Get the hell out of here. Any other sport, it doesn't operate like this. There is no champion of recess in any other sport. What the hell is that? Interim champion? What the hell is an interim champion? And boxing fans have just walked into the door and thought that this stuff is normal. They programmed you to think that way. No other sport has a champion in recess. No other sport has an interim champion. Either you're the champion or you're not. Are you the champion? You're not the champion? Okay. Then you're not the champion. You're the champion? Okay. Are you going to defend it? No? All right. Give it to me. That's it. That's sports. You dudes you're making the sport more complex when we should be going more simple. Every other sport is going more simple. You're going more complex. I've talked about this for a decade on here. The Kardashian era. People have a short attention spans. So what do the geniuses who are running American boxing into the ground do? They make the sport more complex. You know what I want to do? We got 17 weight class, but you know what I think is a good idea? To make an 18th. That would make the sport easier to follow, right? But you know why he's doing that? Because he wants more money. He's a nonprofit, right? No, he's a business. Everything he's saying here is projecting onto Ring Magazine, but that's him. It's him. And when he says, the thing I take the most personal, I think, is when he says boxing is here. And he's pointing to the room, right? Where I say, it's sort of like their version of a church, right? And they get in there and they circle jerking each other and they're like, oh, they're giving each other awards, right? Boxing's not in there. It's not. Checks and balances are broken. And he wants them broken because that's where he thrives, right? I'm going to do what I want. I'm going to create a new division and everybody's going to recognize it. And BoxRec is saying, no, I don't think we're going to do that. We don't recognize your champion. When we go on boxrec.com and update his fights, it's a heavyweight fight. And he has a problem with that, right? Anybody who calls into question that his rankings are corrupt because they have to be corrupt because they don't make any sense. Have to be corrupt. The only reason you created a new weight class, because we all know we need to simplify, the only reason you created another weight class at the expense of boxing fans and the sport, the betterment of the sport, is so you can get more money. Anybody who's calling that out needs to be destroyed because we need to destroy the checks and balances so the power brokers can devour the sport, so they can obtain more power. And part of that is the brainwashing process that they push on millennial, Gen Z, new age boxing fans, particularly here in America, who go along with this stuff and think it makes perfect sense, but it does not. Integrity, arbitrarily. But this is boxing? No, boxing is here. It's me and you in the chat. That's what it is. It's the boxing fans. It's the boxing fans who go to fights, pay for the fights. I can't tell you how many thousands of dollars I spent on fights and spent on apps and spent on pay-per-view. It's us. That's the spirit of boxing. It's the grandpa going to the fight with his son and then his grandson. And you see it right there. You see like the transfer, you see 3 generations of boxing fans being ushered in. And you see this in every sport, right? I'm going to a basketball game tomorrow night and I'm going to go with my son and my daughter and my dad. You'll see 3 generations of basketball fans, and this is being carried on. But what is a big part of that? It's accessible. I paid $20 per ticket for those tickets. But they beat that out of us, right? What they've done is said, no, you're going to pay $1,000 for these tickets. You're going to pay $2,000 for the hotel room. You're going to pay $1,500 for flight tickets. Why? Because I said so. That's why. We're going to put it in Vegas where it's $18 for a smart water. I tried to buy a 24-pack of water at the gift shop downstairs, and it was $32 for a 24-pack of water. How in the hell do boxing's power brokers expect us to carry on this tradition if they've priced us out? Like me, man, I'll be fine. I'll be fine. I'll be fine. But I'm trying to speak up for people who are not fine. And look, man, I'll call somebody else specifically. Ring IQ is going back and forth with this guy called War Week on boxing or something like that. And this dude is out there just railing against boxing fans. Boxing fans. If all of the ills in the sport, if you fall all the way down to boxing fans to blame them specifically for the ills of the sport, you got something wrong. There's something seriously wrong with you. Your brain is broken. It's broken. You're blaming boxing fans for the ills of the sport? We're trying to stick around. We're trying to stay here. We're trying to support the sport, support the fighters. But at every single turn, we're being blamed. The power brokers are blamed. I saw with Steven Espinoza, he comes on, he's trying to explain why Crawford versus Spence is taking so long. It's just the boxing fans because they're stealing everything. No, that's not why. That's not why. They will blame you for every one of their shortcomings. That's what Suliman is doing here. He's blaming everybody but himself. Why in the hell, when we need to simplify boxing, are you trying to make it more complex? What the hell is a champion of recess? What is an interim champion? This is not normal. No other sport does this. Either you're the champion or you're not. You're injured, you have mental health. Guess what? You got to come off that belt. Sorry. Somebody else in line. They may have a mental health too. Sorry, come off the belt. Then they brainwash these new age boxing fans to think that that's anti-fighter. It's not anti-fighter. This is how you get a sustainable sport. It needs to be simplified. We're going in the opposite direction of everybody else. And we're wondering why American boxing is in the toilet. You expect me to be in awe of these dudes when they're running the sport into the ground in America? You expect me to be in awe of Suliman? This dude created an 18th weight class and named it after a kid that got eaten by a dog. Never let a good crisis go to waste. And I'm supposed to be in awe of that dude. He's got an interim champion at middleweight who's been an interim champion for 13 months. He's got a middleweight titleist who hasn't fought 900 days. He's about to fight in a 10-rounder at a catchweight against a non-middleweight. And he's saying, take your belt, I don't care. And I'm supposed to be in awe of these dudes. You've got an advisor parading around like an advisor, although he's behind the scenes working as a manager and promoter. He's running things that I'm supposed to be in awe of these dudes. Sorry, no. So when Suliman says boxing is here, no, go to hell. It's not. Boxing's here. It's the connection that fighters have with boxing fans. And you've cut that connection off. We see them less often. When these guys come out, they're less successful. Why the hell do you have Kambosos fighting Maxie Hughes in Oklahoma? Why do you have Morrell Jr. fighting in Minneapolis? 98% of the place is comped. And then it's not even on your fight schedule till 4 days before the fight? Look at that. Morrell Jr.'s fight last year, it wasn't on PBC's fight schedule until 4 days before the fight, and they comped the hell out of the place. This dude is Cuban, and you got to fight in Minnesota. You made these dudes less successful. You cut off that natural connection, that organic connection between fighter and fan. We're the sport. Not you. Not you. From where I'm sitting, you're destroying the sport. The Sulimans of the world are destroying the sport. You're not the sport. When he looks around at his little convention in Uzbekistan, and he's looking around at all these lapdog journalists, managers, power brokers, whoever the hell is there, and they're doing a little circle jerk, and then they're asking each other these fake questions, right? And they're making their little rulings with their fake board of governors. And he looks around, he says, this is a sport? Go to hell. It's not the sport. We're the sport. Fighters are the sport. Fighter, fan. And you've cut us off. You've got fights where they don't belong. You're making rulings that make no sense. You've got fake rankings. You've got a fake board of governors. You've got interim champions. You've got champions in recess. None of us know what the hell to make of any of this. You've got people running for the exits. You're making the sport more complex to follow and one we need to be simplifying. This is the age where you need to simplify. People have short attention spans. You're making this sport more difficult to follow. You're cutting off that natural connection between fighter and fan. And then you're going to sit there on your high horse and say, this is where boxing is? No, it's not, man. It's not. This is where boxing is. From where I sit, you're everything that's wrong about boxing. Arbitrarily. If anybody's arbitrarily doing anything, it's you. Integrity of the sport. If anybody is damaging the integrity of the sport, it's you. We know what you're doing. Follow the money. Sanctioning fees, nonprofit. Go to hell. Go to hell. Big fights tonight. Shakur Navarrete. Look forward to talking about them with y'all after the fight. Peace. God bless.